Hi, good evening, everybody, or good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to Inception Podcast. And this evening, I'm having a conversation with the wonderful, breathtaking Lindsey. Hiya.
Hi, Gloria. You have a way of making me feel really good about myself. So thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You should, if you should feel good about yourself. Your work is amazing. So before we go into our conversation, give us a brief, what you do, what have you got, podcast, and then we'll carry on.
Yeah, I do my podcast Rogue Ways, and then I also have a podcast and show called Middle Path. They're both on Rockfin, and Rogue Ways is on YouTube when YouTube hasn't kicked me off and suspended my account. So you can also get them all on any podcast app. And then I have my site, rogueways.org, and I do all kinds of things there. It would be a lot to list, but I'm an author. I've written 5 books, and I make jewelry and do spiritual support is basically the long and short of it.
She's not very special, guys, is she? Do you know what I mean? Right, that's enough. I'm jealous. I'm not having that because I'm just a little old lady in the village, the Hot Fuzz village in the UK. Right. So we're going to get into the conversation. Remember, guys, audience, this is not an interview. It's a conversation, Zoom to Zoom, okay, between me and Lindsey. So I'm going to kick off. We're going to go down the rabbit hole and we're going to go camping, have coffee. Yeah, we're going down, girl. Or we can have vodka, whatever you choose, marijuana, whatever presses your buttons. What is the human experience from your personal conscious truth, Lindsey?
My experience of the human experience is that we are something that most people, I think, call consciousness, something that I might call ether or the etheric, something that we might call soul or spirit, and that we come into this place called Earth, whatever this place is. We're here having this physical experience, which is way slower than our real true selves are in that etheric space where we come from and where we go back to. And it's slowed down so that it can seem physical. It's slowed down so that we can have sequential experience in linear time. And it's slowed down so that we can have all kinds of points of view and just infinite experiences. We can go all the way to the depth of horror and evil, and we can go all the way to the light and uplifting, salvation or, enlightened ones or whatever, or we can be here in between and, go shopping for celery or whatever at the store. And we can do anything. And, it's interesting because sometimes people feel like it's a trap, right? Like, oh, I got stuck here. I got stuck in this body and I'm stuck on this planet and I can't get out of this cyclical, reincarnation thing that people think is happening. And I'm like, wow, you really don't have much faith in yourself, right? Like you don't remember before this life. Most of us don't, right? The time in between lives or whatever might happen. And so in that time, you don't think that it's possible that perhaps you were like, whoa, that was amazing. I'm going right back. Like, and that right here, you don't have that perspective. And so you can feel pain, you can feel suffering, and you can forget, I even forget day to day sometimes some of the truths I've learned. That's part of the human experience too. Like we don't have it all at our command all the time. Most of the time.
That was beautiful analogy. You did better than Chris Matthew, don't you?
I'll have to rub it in his face.
girlies, power to the girlies. Chris to the and Ryder, we kicked him to the curb too.
Yeah.
that was beautiful, and it's basically it resonates with my truth. I just use different language, not the fact that I'm UK English and you're USA English. I mean, it's just different terminologies we use. But we're going to go deeper into that, okay? So now we've started it. We started it off, and we're going to go. So on the backdrop of what you've just said, the next area to look at is, well, who am I? I mean, who are you? But I want you to expand and go deeper on what you've just spoken about. So who are you? Who am I?
And maybe I'll go too far here. I don't know, but
go where you want to go.
I specifically, I remember multiple lifetimes, and I remember very specific themes in them. And so I specifically am this my understanding again of that soul and that etheric part of us, that's like a slice of the infinite, the source or whatever we want to call that, God, whatever. And that's in me. That's literally what I am. But I'm in this experience having these like linear, experiences, and those even continue life to life, incarnation to incarnation. Okay. And I'm really this piece of the all that is building this experience so that in my understanding, I can come out the other side and be fully aware of and cognizant of and choosing a type of experience that I wouldn't otherwise have. Mm-hmm. God or the all or source or whatever could have forced me, because they could do anything it wants. But instead, this is the best way to allow through constructive experiential knowledge the choice to be or become one with the all, or a new spin-off of another all, right? Or if you can even conceive of that. There's something outside of the all.
I can conceive. And that is beautiful. I mean, as again, it resonates with me. My terminology is not so elegant as yours and expansive. Mine is, my truth is, I am consciousness having the human experience. And I use multiple analogies, but the one I'll use again, especially for this podcast, is if we say consciousness is a ball of light, energy, alive, and you put a colander over, and all the beams come out, that is the singularity. Every individual Homo sapiens sapien, and obviously to experience all things at all times, at all levels in the now, and all timelines in the now. So my description is the same as yours. And this is the beauty of this human experience, that we can articulate it in different ways, but it's the same thing. And that's the richness of the human experience. And I just love it. I just love it. Now, we will touch back on these ones as we go through, as we go further down the rabbit hole. I've got the stove on, the kettle's boiling, get your camping bed, because we're sleeping the night in the rabbit hole tonight. So I'm going to jump into, from your truth, Lindsey, okay, from your truth, coming on the backdrop of what you've just stated, then what is this reality? What is this reality? From your truth, your perspective, what do you think? How would you describe reality on the back of what you just said?
I think like it's similar to what people might call a simulation. Mm-hmm. There's no real difference, except I think, again, it's the language actually has intention and feeling in it. And when we say simulation, a lot of people, again, feel trapped. They feel like it's fake. Therefore, it's fake. This isn't real. And to some extent, it's not real. Because again, we came from somewhere, going back to there. And this is just something in between that we've chosen to do. In the meantime, it has rules. We can't break those rules, seemingly. Maybe we can, but we think we can't. And they seem very solid and unbreakable. And it has cause and effect, and it has linearity, and it has duality, right? And all of those things seem embedded in the structure of this place. Mm-hmm. And that we are actually beyond that. We actually exist above and beyond that. We actually have more fluidity and more infinity within us, in our essence, than this place. But we came here for some reason, again, to experience that. So I think, the idea of simulation is a nice analogy and metaphor for it, because we don't maybe have a better word. It's a construct, and we've agreed on it, and we agree to act within its laws and structures. And that's basically it. I don't see that as a negative thing. I think it's beautiful. Look around us. Like, there's waterfalls and hummingbirds and sunlight and moonlight, and there's grass that's green, and it's amazing here.
I know. And once again, I resonate. One of my analogies is, I can use the analogy of the dream world. Like, I'm when we go into the dream state of consciousness, how we experience that, and then you awaken from that, and you realize it was just a dream. Or one of the ones I really do like the analogy is that it's like when you're watching a film, but you're part of the cast, and you're observing. So my reality at the moment, I observe everything that goes on. I come from a juxtaposition of non-duality. So Homo sapiens sapien is the mask that goes on to play the role, but the source, God particle, consciousnness, higher self, it really doesn't matter. And when you become the observer, whatever terminology, because I know simulation, it's a bit like someone's controlling. No, we are co-creating. We are part of, you want to call it the God particle or whatever. We are the gods with a little g. So I resonate again with that. I want to expand on about the control mechanisms that in the 3D reality we're in, where you mentioned there are set rules that we think we cannot break or overcome. For my truth, as an experiencer that's floated through the walls and gone off somewhere and all the other weird stuff that happens in this 3D reality, that confirms to me that even what we once thought as solid Newtonian scientific laws can and are being broken. And I'm really pleased you brought that up, that we think, which is just the mind, left brain. How do you feel about that?
Well, this is my most recent experience of this was not that long ago. Maybe it was last year. But I walked into a room and I have this fan and has lights and there's a little switches, little pulleys that hang from it, to turn them off and on. And I walked into the room and I was totally engrossed in something else I was looking at or reading or whatever in my hands. I can't remember what it was. But I was totally engrossed in that. And I just reached up and turned on the light and it turned on and I finished reading the thing and I looked up and I said, oh, how did I turn that on? It turned on, but the light switch on the wall isn't on. The light switch on the wall has to be on and then you pull the, Yeah. And when I realized that, it turned off. That's real life. That's 3-dimensional real waking life. My boyfriend was there and was like, oh, wow, that's, it was not, I was on a dream.
I hear you. I mean, there was, we can use we can put that under the umbrella of paranormal, because I think we need to have a sort of an umbrella to get it all. ET, mediumship, whatever, things like that is under this umbrella. All of these aspects show you the Homo sapiens sapien as we awaken to know thyself, who we truly are, and start to experience the 3D. We're not going to experience it like it was. The whole point let's use terminologies, it's just so hard. Evolution of consciousness, expansion, the awakening, doesn't matter. I don't know what they say in German. Anyway, or Eskimo, I don't know. No, I mustn't get there. I'm starting. On my giggles now. It's becoming apparent that we can, with the understanding of that the mechanisms that we thought controlled reality do not exist in either the simulation or the dream world or the movie. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. And I mean, I've experienced it in other ways as well. I've had multiple times where for whatever reason, I was just expecting to pump gas without paying first. And I know everyone knows here, at least, that you have to pay for it. You put your credit card in first and then the pump turns on. But I've gotten out of my car, just pumped gas, gotten back in my car and left. And this happened to me multiple times. And again, it's because I'm so engrossed in whatever I'm thinking or doing. I don't even consider that the gas won't pump. Yes. And then it does. And I think this is, it's a hard place to get intentionally, however.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree.
All on accident.
I agree. It's like, I really need for this to happen now, because it's coming from the ego and the physical Homo sapiens sapien. Just piss off. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
When you try, but the whole point of consciousness is to have no outcome, is to allow consciousness, left brain, right brain conscious to merge, just to experience, and it will just flow. It will. I so relate to that. We need to get out of, we need to get out of the way of who we are. Our identities need to shift. People think, well, if you disappear, I say we need to die before we die physically. Well, if you did disappear, who's going to be there? And I will go, me.
Yeah.
Me. But it will just still be me. However, it's me coming from, you can call it the oneness or the higher consciousness or the higher self. And then when we get there, Lindsey, everything will flow. Everything. Can you imagine? We won't have to think it. I've got a list. I'm waiting. No, I haven't. I haven't. Okay. So we've got a good grounding for this conversation to continue. Okay. So the next area we're going to go into, and I've just given it an umbrella name because everyone's got multiple names, so tell me, Lindsey, who is ET in relation to us conscious beings having the human experience? Who is ET?
My experiences with what people call ET has shown me that ET is more closely related to what people might call angels, demons, or jinn than anything else. They're etheric beings. They're psychic constructs. They're souls and entities that do not exist physically, but can appear to exist physically. Just like we would, describe any of those experiences with, I saw a ghost, or I saw an angel, or I saw this thing. ET for me has been no different than that. And when I've experienced other types of entities that people would not call ETs, but would call angels, demons, or jinns, there is no difference in my experience of them. Okay. I do think it's possible there are physical beings, let's say like Sasquatch or Dogman or these sort of cryptids. And again, even then, I feel like we have so much, and I haven't experienced as much of those types of entities, but I feel like given all of the data, it seems to me like those even are etheric beings that are just more able to manifest physically and leave some physical trace, but not much, right? So they're even they are like on the edge of physicality, and they exist more in those other realms. And so, but I don't know, people are like, oh, then they're higher beings or ascended beings. I'm like, well, they're like any group as far as I can tell, where there's some good, some bad, some neutral, and everything in between. They're just another.
Look at us humans.
Yeah.
Fair example. Okay, so we've got there. So obviously we would agree that there is nothing outside consciousness. So they are consciousness having the experience of ET or Bigfoot or whatever, Trevor. Okay. Now we're gonna bring that in. How can I articulate this? I must get so repetitive on this podcast. I must find new ways. I'll learn from you, Lindsey. Don't worry. At this moment in current times, consciousness and what's happening to consciousness now, the collective now is starting to, like never before in our recorded memory, experience an expansion, an exponential expansion of contact with other beings, not in the Homo sapien meat suit. Okay? So these beings, these ET, just label them ET, why do you think, what's going on from your truth? What's going on?
Well, it depends, because they're so different. There's so many of them. I've had experiences with some that are definitely have negative intentions and want to harm and basically want to be like a parasite, which some humans are like that too. Some vampires are like that, right?
Oh, yeah, I know a few people. Yes, I do.
Yeah. We all know a few of those people. So I've met some like that. I've interacted with some that are almost exactly the opposite. And they're like, how can I give you more energy? How can I help you? How can I guide you? And I've also, my most recent experience with what I think other people would call ET was with a mantid, which I'd never experienced before. And I'd heard people talk about it. So I have that construct somewhere in me, but I didn't really pay too much attention. So I wasn't sure like what they're supposed to be doing, But in my experience, this being came to me in a deep meditative state, and they treated my brain has like a file system, and they went through it and they pulled things out and they updated some stuff and put it back in and threw other things away and inserted some new things. But all of it, as I was talking to them or understanding them, it was all things I had already decided. None of it was being put, you know what I mean? It wasn't like they came and said, Lindsey needs this idea and put it in my head. It was all things I had decided, but I couldn't manage to shift on my own yet. And so it was like a boost in like psychic healing and releasing constructs and releasing these old, outdated, harmful, sort of traumatic, maybe messages in my system. And then when it was done, it was like psychic high five, and they just went away. And I was like, that was profoundly amazing. And they're like, thank you. You want to have some tea or something? Like, I feel bad almost, like you just came and gave me this gift. And I went searching the next day, like, am I totally weird, or is that what mantises are sort of supposed to do? And I looked and saw that they're supposed to be these incredible healers, especially, you know, with our mentality and our psychic selves and our mind. And so I was like, wow, okay, there's one ET experience I had. And again, that was 100% on the, whatever people want to call that, astral psychic space. There was no physical being. So what was he doing? I call everything he, forgive me. What was he doing? It sounds like he just wanted to help. He just purely like, I want to help humanity, or Lindsey specifically for some reason. I didn't ask for it. I didn't request it. It just happened. So these are just servants, and not servants like, oh, we look down on them, you do my dirty work, but servants is like, here, my goal is some higher, you know, level of consciousness, maybe for all of humanity. And so I'm just going to help wherever I can, find whoever's open to it, and do what I can to shift that. What a beautiful being. I
think it's, I do. I mean, you know, how can I have experience mantis. I've spent most of my existence here with the greys as I paint them, but I have experienced the mantis, and the knowing, it was like a knowing of raising, how can I, so hard to find these words. Like, I don't like the word servant. I keep getting Christopher all the words out of the English dictionary. They've got low.
So many words fail.
But the healing is know thyself. The healing is it's there already. The healing is know thyself. And so I it was only the once or twice, nothing like the interaction I've had with the greys and the blues and blah blah blah. And it was like a reverence. I felt a reverence connection, like know thyself. And that's where I got the understanding that they don't operate, which many of us do think they do, on the same, you know, cognitive structures and analytical descriptions as we do. Only humans do what we do. They don't have right or wrong. I'm better than you. It's all one consciousness. They're fully aware there's one consciousness. However, they all have an individual essence similar to the Homo sapiens sapien. One's a doctor, one's a teacher like you, you're a teacher. One's this, one's that, one's crazy like me. So I can relate to that energy on that conscious beings. So how would it resonate with your truth? With all that's going on, would you? I'm of the truth. People are talking about waking up and the ascension. From my truth, from my juxtaposition, we've done it. It's already done. Mm-hmm. I know it's done, and this is the scraggy bits, the illusion. We've done. Stay on the timeline. We're done. Don't turn back, because you'll go straight back into that old timeline. Isn't it I never had this understanding until recently that the experiences to come are of that I can't trying to get this out. the Homo sapien, of all the fictions it's watched and all the fantasy in Avatar, And they all thought it was unattainable. But these beings, would you agree or not agree, doesn't matter, show us our potentiality, our superposition, that we're there now as these divine, whatever Trevor's you want to call us, crazy humans. It's in our hands now. And it's what you've already experienced, like the gas pump or the light. There's no wanting. Does that make, it's very hard to get this out. Does that make sense to you?
It makes absolute sense to me. And I think it's, for some people, a little scary. And it has been scary for me at times along the path to think, oh, if I'm that powerful, when I just get out of my way.
Yes, I know.
And that's a lot of responsibility. I even have, clients and people who I work with who, I ask them, well, what is it you want? What is it you would like to head towards or create in your life? And they're like, oh God, I mean, I don't know. Because even our own single path can be overwhelming. And like, what do I want? What do I actually want? If I was going to have exactly what I wanted in life, what would it look like? That's a lot. So then we bring it to the higher level. Like, what do we want as a species and as a world? It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot easier to and this is why I think existence is such a gift to us, that we've been given this time and this space where we can experience in this way. Because it allows us this, if you don't want to do any of that, you can exist here too. Yeah. You can exist here and not manifest anything except just going along. Right.
You want. You don't have to. Let me put the light on because I'm fading into the dark again.
The sunset has got you.
Okay, hold on. There you go. And the universe said, let there be light. And there was light, and it shone upon me and Lindsey.
You just created universes.
You know what I mean? I so relate to that. And as this occurs with this interaction with them, from my truth is, we are the co-creators. We are creating this. And the potentiality brings responsibility of choice. And because we're all doing the work, we've been doing the work to get rid of the beliefs, the cultures, the anger, the jealousy, and what was up actually is down, and what was blue is actually red, and what is the whole reality is fractalizing. It's just shattering, and at the same time, so that's on the macrocosm. On the microcosm, I can't believe, guys, I said them two words correctly. On the single individuality, the fractal consciousness with multiple experiences of multiple lives is now coming back. The mirror is reforming and reflecting. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I was just going there in my own mind too, this mirror. And this is the other part that's terrifying. And my favorite book is The Never Ending Story. And the hardest.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so good. God. And the most difficult gate that is faced by a human person in Fantastica is the magic mirror gate. And it's because you cannot, most people, it says the strongest men crumble, and the bravest men crumble, and the most fairest women find out that they're actually so ugly inside.
Yes.
But it's beyond that, right? Yes. When you turn the light on, like you just did, the universe is created and people are aware of themselves finally, and they look down and see they're naked, like they want to cover it, use the fan leaf, like, oh my God, I'm not in the garden anymore.
No. No.
Yeah. And it's hard, to look at what we really are and who we really are. And this is part of my experience with my past life memories too, is like, oh my God, I was awful. I did horrifying things that I would never in this life consider even possible for me. I would look at people doing that and I would say, who are you, you evil being? And then I had to look back at my own self and see me being this evil being.
Been there, done it, did it, and got the scars.
Yeah.
Yes.
So looking at yourself is hard. And it's hard work, but it's also really, really beautiful because then you are able to look further outside of yourself and see, like you have said, all of this is me, actually. None of this is not me.
Yes, exactly.
And if I'm going to love myself, I'm going to love all of that.
Exactly. I mean, I've said this before. I don't know, I'll just say it again. I don't know when I said it. I was way back in the day. It was like I'm not religious, but I'm using God, so we all understand what I'm talking about.
Right.
Way back in the day, I'd go, God would say, universe, Gloria, go right. So Gloria went left. Around the houses and all the trauma, suffering, and eventually went right. And then it would repeat itself again. Gloria, please turn right. No, Gloria went off. And I studied. I don't study anymore. I was gone. I studied. I went to university, criminology, everything you could think of. Quantum physics, neuroscience, plus. Oh my God, I went everywhere, and I went off searching for me. And I kept looking. And then one day I looked in the mirror, that mirror, metaphysically, guys, not the mirror. Don't look in that too often.
Yeah.
Not too often. And I went, fuck. What I was looking for was the one looking. It went like that. Then boom, yeah. And from that, obviously, you go in and out. I always say the divine play, the mask comes on, I play the role. And the mask comes off, I go, bingo, I'm awake. No, you're not. Boom, the mask goes. To keep working. And the whole purpose for this reality, from my truth, is to know myself, to know thyself. I am that I am experiencing. So that is just this is a wonderful conversation, isn't it?
Yes.
And the never-ending story. And there's another relevant part to the never-ending story is the nothingness.
Yeah.
The nothingness. Many people got scared by that. But when I go into the I am space of self-inquiry, to get a boost, as you do, there's nothing. But it's not nothingness. There's no thing. There's no physicality. There's no opposites. There's no polarities. So are you on your phone, Lindsey?
No, I'm on my computer.
Get off your computer. You have a detention now. I'm only wondering. So, right, we've got to that one. So we've also touched how we can, what, you want to do more?
Can I say something about the nothing?
Oh, God, yeah.
This is my favorite topic in the universe.
Go for it.
The nothing in the book and in the movie are created. And I don't know if it's that clear in the movie. And so if people haven't read the book, they might not know that the nothing is created by human lies. And so what is the nothing? It is a lie. There is no nothing. There is nothing in existence that is nothing. There's something. There's always something.
There's always
right?
something.
There's always something. And like we said, it is actually you. You are the thing that is always something.
And it's alive.
And that if you're creating this darkness that's eating everything, you're doing that actually too. You're doing that. And like you have said, another way of looking at that is that any identity you take on, anything, it's all a mask, right? So anything you identify with is a mask. You're like, I'm this body. No, you're not. You're something beyond this body. This is a tool. It's a really cool tool. It's a beautifully made, intricately crafted tool, but it's just a tool. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm a woman. No, you're not.
You're not a woman. You're not a mother. No, you're not. You're not anything the mind can tell you are not.
Nothing. So you are nothing, but you're never nothing, right? Yeah. There's another one of those paradoxes. There is no nothing, but you are nothing.
There is no thing. In fact, with consciousness, I mean, for myself, because of the only word I can pull out is unconditional love from the Homo sapiens sapien. It's the only terminology. There's no omnipresent, omnipotent. There is no description of it. When you're in it, you can't speak it. You can't. It's a no thing. So the best thing I say, when you say there's a nothingness, or when I take people into self-inquiry, go, there's nothing there. I say, no thing, no ego, no identity. And I try that way going in. But the film, from my perception, doesn't relate the same as the book. I haven't read the book. I raised 6 children on the film, and it was magical. How I perceived the film was the nothingness was consciousness consuming the identity of the ego back to true source. Isn't that beautiful that one can see it one way, which is, and one the other, but it's the same thing we just said.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of judging like they judge, that is beautiful. Wow.
Well, and what saved the entire world or the universe, or however you want to look at that, self-consciousness, whatever connection to source, is a person who was able to accept themselves 100% fully with no rejections of self at all.
No, nothing.
And this is the shamanic work that I do with people is retrieving the parts of yourself that you've rejected, basically. That's the part, and we all have to be whole. And when we are, our imagination is the tool. This is the tool he uses to recreate the world. It's just his imagination. He just imagines. He's like, ooh, what if it was this? And then that exists.
What do creators do? They imagine things into existence. It is so beautiful. But when you make statements like that, from the juxtaposition, if you're coming from an ego, there's nothing wrong with the ego, by the way, guys. If we didn't have the consciousness ego, part of us, which is source, we wouldn't have been able to experience the human experience. So it's not a negative. It's nothing wrong with it. It's cool. Many people go, I got to get rid of my ego. No, you don't. And please don't try to get rid of your thoughts. It will never happen.
Yeah.
Just observe them. Just observe your thoughts. We're better than the guys, us girls, because we've really covered all the areas and we're going deeper and deeper and deeper. Someone posed a question to me the other day in regards to all this. How can I try and recall it? Gloria, if your timeline's like this and my timeline's like that, will I be out of your timeline? Okay. Now, here comes my response from my truth at the moment. There is only one timeline, and I am it. You're my mirror. I am it. So if I am creating this and you're there as my reflection. Say, for example, you piss me off and press my buttons, you know what I mean? You anger or something like that. And I was trying to articulate this and I gave up in the end for the moment. How do you perceive, there was many talking, I'm not saying they're wrong, it's their belief and that's their truth, and I highly respect it. But there are many saying, we're going off and leaving you lot to suffer, the Holocaust, and you know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
What are your views on such beliefs and judgments as those?
Well, so if you go off on this other timeline, right, and you like leave people behind, I mean, how could you leave someone behind? Because that's what they chose. Yeah. They're still moving forward. They're still doing their thing, right? Yes. They chose that, and that's what they're experiencing. And the truth is, too, you're also experiencing that. Yes. Right now, in this moment, you're only seeing this timeline. You're only experiencing this timeline directly in linear time. But there's another version of you that's doing something slightly different, and there's another version of you that's
absolutely
wildly different.
Yes.
And all of them are happening at once, right? There's that double or that toroidal field time theory. And if you look at that, that makes the most sense to me, because this is like every single thing that could ever happen. And you're just right here at this one point. But you could also jump to any. And I think this is why what people call, what do they call it? Quantum jumping or
quantum leaping. Is it quantum leap?
Something like that. Yeah. I think that's why things like this work. And that's also something that I've experienced, again, mostly on accident, is the complete change of timelines. Like, oh, wow, all of a sudden I'm here and this is not where I was. The things that happened in this past did not happen in my other past, but my consciousness remembers both. And it's very strange. So I know we can do that. So therefore, I know that there are all of these waiting for our consciousness to just shift onto that one.
I agree. I mean, I've also at this moment in time, it's coming into my consciousness. Well, actually, they're called etchings or downloads as you get them, just to play around, as you communicate with people, you go, discernment. And something was as recent as this morning, I was actually watching the panel show that Chris just released for us. And even though I was in the panel show and I was asking the questions, but I put it on and I was just listening to make sure I didn't miss anything. And I was going deeper into this And it just, because I will explain in it, I've experienced one of myself in another timeline, me and her, accidentally, and it was like all timelines are coming into the one. All your experiences, your conscious experience, soul or higher self, in multiple timelines are now coming into the one timeline, which then would answer the first question that she asked me. You can come back on me on that one. I'd really like your thoughts on that. When I was many years ago, and I was in, I don't meditate. I've never been a meditator, but I've always tended to go into a disassociative state, should I say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was in this stillness, and I could see like a box, and there was someone in the box, and like the cameras coming closer and closer. And I was looking, and it was like another reality shifting towards me. It was weird. Never experienced them. Never knew about parallel realities or any dimensions, or never knew that. This is way back. And as this person was coming closer, looking like this face at me, I went, "Oh, is that my dead mother? I hope not." And I kept looking, and it was like, fuck, it was me. And I'm telling you, I was in awe with this. My whole body was going, zzz, whatever you do when you get one of those. And she was shocked. It was a bit like the film Deja Vu with Denzel Washington. Yeah? Have you seen that film?
No.
You should see it. It's really good. It really explains it. Where you tap into the next, and they're aware that you're there. We connected, but she was more shocked to see me. And I saw and from that experience that day, that shifted me. I knew nothing about this stuff, but I knew it to be true. So but that was an accident. I was just associating, doing my thing, chilling, coffee, cigarette, whatever. And I was like, whoa. So anyway, come back. So what are your thoughts on what I've just stated to you?
I think there's a million ways to do what you just described, and that is one of them, right? And I really think it's like what we were saying earlier about the light switch and the gas pump. Yeah. There's a part of you who has no idea what to expect, and so you're just genuinely open and curious and moving forward with either with no expectation at all, which is harder to pull off, or with the expectation that this is absolutely just what's going to happen. I have no doubt about it. And both are the way to sort of make that jump into whatever else it is.
I think if you don't think it, to me, the only way I can, we say we can't do it, but it just happens. If we don't use the mind, the ego, the thought, if we don't use that, but we mustn't try not to use that. It's when you don't use the mind, it happens.
Yep.
And it feels like we're learning to master this. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. And I really think for me, that's why meditation has been a really good tool. And it's like you said earlier, it's not about not thinking. It's about just being and just being, and then just being some more. You're just being however you want. And some people do guided meditations, and I do I create those for people and lead people on those too. And I think they can be helpful. But my favorite method of meditation is to just sit and just be in my body.
In silence.
Yeah. And just wait.
I sometimes have music. Non-vocal, obviously. I love classical music. Way back in the day, I 20 years, I don't know, likes of Muji Baba or Papaji, Eckhart Tolle, who gave me so my left brain could have an intellectual understanding to articulate to itself, because obviously when you're talking, you just talk, one thought talks to another thought. That's all it's doing. It's an illusion. But I needed that back in the day. So Eckhart Tolle was the one for me. But now it's just, and sometimes, I get up in the morning and I've got this, I call it the face ache time, because I'm smiling and I just in this space automatically, and I go, oh, fuck, face ache time, put your cheeks down. And and there's nothing There is nothing. However, I'm in the reality. That's happening more and more and more. And not just to me, to numerous people are starting with the light bulb, you're saying, the switch and the gas pump and, seeing yourself. Would you say on that, we've got to stay here because this is really critical, because maybe some of the audience, you don't have to be, I've said this before, you don't have to be an ET experiencer to experience what's going on, because you're part of it. You're going to experience if you choose to. Things that, how can I put it? Like for me, even spiritual practices were stopped way ago. You have to go a linear, do this to do that, to grade 1, to grade 2, and you can't do that, and that's all gone. Would you agree?
I think it's more like what you said. Like at some point you needed Eckhart Tolle to be talking to you so you could reflect on certain things. And at some point, right? And there's some, again, like I talk about this a lot, where I use meditation again, but I use it to get me into that spot because it works. And do I need it? No. Can I get into that spot without it? Yeah. But it's like way easier with it. So why not use it? But I've had a very non-traditional path, I have never had like specific training or rules or, and I've never limited myself to this tradition or that tradition. It's like, I just go forward and things drop into my lap.
Yeah.
And I get it from guidance from inside. And sometimes I get it from another person and wherever. And then I'd use that, and then amazing things happen. And then I just keep going. And so I have this grab bag of goodies, that is available to me, and all of them work. So, do people have to do certain things? Absolutely not. And this is what I think is really critical and really beautiful. And I do think it's an understanding that's growing more and more in people, and that we're trying to share it with people who don't see it yet, that you can do anything and be a spiritual badass. You can, use exactly your specific brand of awesomeness. What do you love to do? Do you love to garden? That's a meditation. Go be in that
Go
space.
do your garden, whatever. If you're a road sweeper and you love doing that, whatever it is, be who you are. No fear. Make the choice. I enjoy this experience, because all it is, and I'm choosing to do this. And what you don't enjoy no more, but maybe you've done the work through that. I remember also years ago, I must sound so old. I am old, actually. I'm actually dead, believe it or not. It's a Sixth Sense film.
Right.
I remember emotions coming up years ago. And like, I'll give an example, the experience of divorce. And I had, all the emotions. If you've never been divorced, honestly, it's like shit. All the emotions and all that. And then one day I was like, that's not who I am. I don't like that energy. I remember that. Oh, I don't like the anger, because when I look at other people anger, don't like that no more. It's not who I am. But I didn't, I was just getting into Eckhart Tolle and, Wayne Dyer and just, doing the mind body. I was just starting. But I had an innate knowing without anything. I don't like this feeling. And it was through the lights of Eckhart Tolle. He said, don't block it. Don't push it away. Sit with it. And I'm going, what the fuck? And it's like, dear. And I'm going, I got it. And, so but what I'm trying to get to is, back in the day on the experience, you're a lot younger than I, so you're more like you weren't even born. You were just coming in to piss me off. I know. Yes. We needed all of them things for consciousness to evolve, move on, know itself. What I'm going to bring this into the closure with, now we've done it. Now we don't need any tool. It's your truth. It's your knowing. You know it. You all know at some point, all of you at some point was a superhero. Everyone was a superhero and would dream of all the magical superpowers and all the love and all that, until this experience come into play. We're there now. And how do you feel about that sort of a analogy of trying to bring it into what's currently in the now? We can do anything we choose.
Yes, it's absolutely beautiful. And here's the power in knowing what you just said. If you know you were a superhero, you also know you were the worst villain you've ever seen.
Yes.
And you also know you were everything in between.
Yes.
Well, that frees you, because now you're free to do and be anything at all. And you can just sit with yourself and say, oh yeah, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Exactly.
I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
I feel exactly how I'm supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And if I want anything to be different, all I have to do is let go of the things that aren't that and recognize the things that are. And it sounds easy. It might not be so easy. There are steps, we all have to go through these things, like you were talking about, crying and anger and whatever, and just sitting with it. But the things start to transform so quickly when you really free yourself of that trap of the belief about yourself. Yes. Right. And it can be so many things. And I had this, one of my shaman teachers who I worked with for a while said the weirdest thing to me at the time. And she said, as you go forward, just remember, like, you don't have to be this or that. And you don't have to be this person or that person. You don't have to do the job you do. You can do anything. And you don't have to wear the clothes you wear. You might change your hair. And I was like, why is she talking about my clothes and my hair? Like, that's such a weird thing for a shaman to talk about for me at the time. Yeah. But as I went forward, I realized, because I was attached to really, like, I wear this because I'm this type of person. Yes, and now I wear whatever I want. None of it even makes sense to other people. They're like, why would you put those things together? I'm like, I don't care. I'm comfortable and happy. So I wear whatever I want.
I so resonate with that. I come from criminology, so I would behave. I come from youth offending. That was the career. In child protection, that was, articulate, professional, dress smart, suit. And,
right.
And, and you should see me now.
Yeah, I'm like, I have clothes on. That's good enough.
I have clothes on. That's good enough. That's good. It's good to shut up. I mean, I don't even wear. I can't remember the last time I put makeup on.
Yeah, I can't be bothered. I'm like, that's really annoying.
It's a pointless thing, because this is not who I am. I mean, there is what I have for the audience as well. If anyone is, you don't have to. If nothing resonates with you, what me and Lindsey spoke about, that's perfectly fine. You've got free choice. But if it does, and you're thinking, I'd like to sort of know a bit more, get into that, me and you will share one way each. Okay? It may not be your way. You may go out there on the internet, or you may listen to another podcast. The fact that you're curious, the universe will open it up for you and it will resonate. What I do in my groups is I do the deconstruction of the statement, I am a spiritual being having a human experience. So deconstruction, I'm a spiritual being conscious having the human experience. So there's your first gap. You're not the human. And you start working in there. For me, always find out what you're not. Like the angry person I was after my divorce over 20 years ago, I started to have a knowing that's not who I am. Okay. And I had to sit in it. Okay. It's challenging and it's hard. But if you don't push it down, push it away, block it, allow it to become the observer of the energy. I am the observer of this energy. That's not who I am. And eventually it will subside, pop up now and again, and just observe it. So find out what you're not. You give a quick one, how to help the audience if they're interested in what we're talking about.
I think I'll go with, and this is because today for the millionth time, my soulmate guy, he woke up laughing. He wakes up from a dead sleep laughing like 90% of the time. I'm like, it's so stunning to me. I'm like, what is going on in your brain that you always wake up laughing? It's amazing. Because I wake up and I'm like, okay, which universe is this? And which consciousness level am I at? Is this, like, is this 3D reality, or is this where am I?
Isn't it beauty? We're all experiencing the same thing differently. Isn't that? Right. That's the beauty.
Yes. Yeah, and this has been my way of waking up my whole life. Ever since I was a small child. People had a hard time waking me up. And when I woke up, I was always very confused because it took me a while to ascertain, where am I? Who am I? And what am I doing? So I've always had this, but this is actually a tool that people use, which I didn't know. I just used it automatically because that's just the way I woke up. But if anybody out there wants to do this, it's really simple. And it can spur some really deep, amazing experiences, both awake, asleep, and in all kinds of different realms. And this is the simplicity of it. You just say to yourself, who am I? Oh, I'm Lindsey. Okay, where am I? All right, this is 3D reality right now. And then you say, what am I? Oh, I'm actually this consciousness here using this body in this 3D realm. If you do this throughout the day, you can even set a timer to go off every hour to remind you, oh yeah, who am I? Where am I? What am I? Okay, check. And you actually do it. You don't rush through it. You actually take a minute to sit in your body and sit with your consciousness that, okay, yeah, I'm here and this is me and this is what I'm doing. If you do that, a lot of people will automatically start to astral travel at night because they'll be dreaming and they'll go, who am I? Oh, where am I? Oh, I'm in a dream. Oh, I can do anything.
There you go. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. On that note, Lindsey, we're going to bring our conversation to a close. I think it's definitely girl power for these. Thank you so much indeed for joining me on this conversation. You guys out there, I hope you enjoyed me and Lindsey having this chat about consciousness. And until the next time, it's goodbye from me and Lindsey. See you soon. Bye.